Ladies and gentlemen, dear distinguished guests, good afternoon. My name is Phoebe Xie. So welcome to this Finding Opportunities in the Touchless Economy and its Post-Pandemic Future Forum. Today, the forum is held by TAITRA and the Economic and Ministry Affairs, the Foreign Trade Bureau, and it's also co-hosted by TAIGA, Taiwan Game Industry Promotion Alliance. So now I would like to introduce you to your original game. Let's watch a opening video together. So due to pandemic, this touchless economy is really where all the opportunities emerge. And thanks to the infrastructure built up of 5G and new technology, very soon we will embrace new technology, also completely new experiences of digital entertainment. And it's a great pleasure in TAITRA to have distinguished speakers from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan to share with everyone how to capture the opportunities in the post-pandemic era. And due to COVID-19, it's our great pleasure to have our speakers stay online. And please raise your hand if you hear your name being announced. And also, if you're online, feel free to wave to the camera. First of all, let's welcome Mr. Walter Ye, President and CEO of TAITRA. Welcome. And also, Secretary General Ms. Dai Wanrong from Foreign Trade Bureau of Ministry of Economic Affairs, and also Andy Liu, Chairman of TGIPA, and also our speakers, Johnny Zhang, CEO of Winking Corporation, and also online, Hirokazu Hamamura-san, Vice President of Japan Esport Union, and also Mr. Kim Yong-won, Head of Brand Manager at SK Telecom. So thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us online. So in the very beginning, let's welcome Mr. Walter Ye for opening remarks. Let's welcome Mr. Walter Ye, President and CEO of TAITRA. Ms. Dai from International Trade Bureau, Ministry of Economic Affairs, and also Mr. Johnny Zhang, Mr. Andy Liu, and also Hirokazu Hamamura, Vice President of Japan Sports Union JSU, and also Mr. Kim Yong-won, Head of Brand Manager, SK Telecom. Distinguished guests, friends from the media, and also people who join us online, good afternoon. I sincerely welcome all of you to attend today's forum, this Finding Opportunities in the Touchless Economy and its Post-Pandemic Future. So this event indeed is an example of COVID-19 post-pandemic event, and is actually the first forum held by TAITRA exploring opportunities in the gaming industry, both online and offline. By July 1st, the number of cases test positive has exceeded 10 million around the world. COVID-19 is changing the world, and touchless economy supporting all the remote working workers. I think it's a booming economy. The number of remote workers will be increasing, and it's just the start of touchless economy. And of course, some brick-and-mortar stores are forced to close. However, the interpersonal face-to-face contact, we couldn't imagine that now such contact has become a source of risk, whereas touchless and remote economy become a new opportunity emerged from the pandemic. And touchless, to be specific, we have medical touchless economy, lifestyle, entertainment, and remote working. These are different ways, different forms of touchless economy. For example, telemedication, if you have remote diagnosis, and also that's one thing. And also we have food delivery and logistics, that's another form. And also we have entertainment, that's a third one. For example, you are watching online video. And fourth, the last one will be remote working. So all these applications in different aspects of life combined with high speed and low latency 5G internet, as well as big data and AI application, all this we are brought into a new era of new experiences and new technologies. Touchless economy is now in every part of our life, and the development of 5G has made what was impossible now possible. And also thanks to AR and VR, remote experiences are more vivid and more real, and even video conferencing with 3D and augmented reality, even VR goggle, we deliver a touchless courtesy call. For telemedicine, if you want to deliver practical diagnosis, of course, we need high-quality internet services. Even remote surgery is not impossible anymore. 5G will be the key and essential part of delivering all these remote applications. When it comes to the medical field, only recently I learned that on ambulances with telemedication, actually the paramedicals on the ambulance, they can send X-ray images to the hospital on the way so that doctors can be prepared for the surgery in advance. And all these technologies actually can solve many problems in medical industry. And actually starting in late February, TAITRA has been launching a lot of touchless services, remote services, so that our buyers and also the industry representatives, when we stay at home, stay in Taiwan, and yet we can still secure and locate new opportunities. New online services such as new product launch, etc. All these are online, and also online business matching appointments, business forum. We have all these meetings, for example, having locals and overseas buyers, having online matching, and also online product launch, and also virtual pavilion for product demonstration. And all the events since late February are online. And personally, I have attended more than 50 online events. I can say I'm now a KOL. I can say that now we are able to communicate with friends from around the world and promote business opportunities in Taiwan. And aside from these online events, we have a small designated team. We are organizing these events facilitating international communications in the pandemic era so that more local companies can find clients from abroad. I heard from a lot of people saying that during pandemic, one of the biggest challenge is finding new clients, and we have this online platform and dedicated team to help Taiwanese companies to find new clients from abroad. So that's what we do during the pandemic, and also we have online disease prevention and also home economy platform covering more than 900 companies, supporting them providing online services. So since it was launched in late February, it has become a very popular services. For example, home economy, stay-at-home economy that includes delivery and also home entertainment, which covers audio and video equipment, home entertainment, home alliances, and also accessories for computers, and also board games, handicrafts. All these are popular items that overseas buyers love. In addition, we have bikes and also mechanics. All these events and exhibitions can be held online, and very soon Computex computer exhibition can go online too. So with these events, we have forum online. For example, Jason Huang from NVIDIA and also CEO from Intel, they joined us sharing online about future trends of AI and 5G. All these are popular. And so far, we've seen 170,000 people checking in to watch these forums online. And during the pandemic, we also have a special online pavilion of disease prevention, and it shows off our efforts, our achievements. In Taiwan, for example, the masks, the testing kits, and also the medical equipment we produce in Taiwan, they are all available online with detailed introduction and representation. And actually, we have telemedicine services test run online. So we would love to share our know-how in disease prevention and share to the world. And for this online disease prevention hall, we've seen visitors of more than thousands of people, and we are seeing an increasing number of visitors. And it's a very good example of how we share our services and disease prevention experiences with the world. So today, I'm very happy to join this forum. We have experts from Taiwan, Japan, and Korea to share with us the latest trends in gaming industry, and I believe it will be a very fruitful event, whether you are online or offline, and you will know more about the gaming industry. And in Taiwan, the gaming industry, and also today we have Andy Liu from Taiwan Game Industry Promotion Alliance, and also Johnny Chen, CEO of Winking Corporation. They are the distributors of games. They are very familiar with VR, and also they have original IP games. And these products have gained international recognition. And also, Mr. Hirokazu Hamamura, Vice President of Japan Esports Union, he's now at Kadokawa Digital Entertainment, where he works as a senior advisor. He used to be a very senior chief editor of a game magazine. And Mr. Kim Yong-won, our distinguished speaker, and he's from SK Telecom, and it's a distinguished brand, home and abroad. And it's actually SK Telecom is one of the first company to commercialize 5G technology, and SK Telecom is the biggest mobile service provider in South Korea, getting with more than 50% of market share, and also is one of the biggest mobile beehive communication technology in the world. So with all these expert speakers, and we have all the distinguished guests here attending the forum. I think this is going to be a wonderful event, and we sincerely look forward to hearing the latest trends, new strategies, and their success stories from all these experts from around the world. So thank you for coming, thank you for joining us, and I wish you a great success. And I wish you very healthy, very happy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ye.
接下来，我们欢迎主办单位经济部国际贸易
Now we would like to invite the Chief Secretary of Bureau of Foreign Trade Taiwan Rong to the stage.
外贸协会叶秘书长。
President and CEO of TAITRA Water Ye, Mr. Andy Liu from TGIPA, Mr. Zhang from Winking Corporations, distinguished guests from Japan and Korea, including Mr. Hamamuda and Mr. Kim, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this event. Good afternoon. It's my honor to represent Bureau of Foreign Trade to participate in this Gaming Industry International Forum. This forum includes two popular topics. Due to the pandemic, we are now seeing touchless economy, and the emerging 5G networks and connectivities are very important to us as well. This is an important international occasion and platform to offer the latest information from around the world. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, economy around the world has suffered a lot. But the crisis is also an opportunity. We have to work harder to drive the economy forward and take this opportunity to plan ahead and identify potential business opportunities. As we see, some countries are recovering from the pandemic and some countries are loosening their restrictions on international travel. We have to rethink about the traditional production models. We may have to adapt to the new normal and find new solutions. Many companies should think out of the box and use innovative methods and strategies to adapt to the new situations. President Tsai, in her inaugural speech this year, she has mentioned about several strategic industries in Taiwan, and she believed that this will be important development for Taiwan. For example, we need to emphasize on digital economy as well as ICT industry. She also emphasized on the 5G connectivity in the digital transformation process. Many companies in Taiwan excel in process management. That's why we have an important role to play in the global production chain. We are also highly evaluated in the international rankings. That's why we have seen a lot of emergence technologies and information coming from Taiwan. In the post-pandemic future, we are seeing new technology, new products, new services, and new markets. We have to adapt and change to these new possibilities. innovations can bring us new values as well. In this pandemic, many people have talked about planning ahead. I think TAITRA has done a great job in planning ahead to organize an important international forums online and offline together. We hope that in this forum, many game developers in Taiwan can understand the latest international trends and economic opportunities. Bureau of Foreign Trade will continue to work with TAITRA to expand our international market in digital content. I wish this event a great success, and I hope and wish you great health. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Secretary Dai. Now we would like to invite Mr. Andy Liu from TGIPA to the stage. President Ye, Secretary General Dai, Mr. Kim, Mr. Hamamuda, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to attend this event organized by Bureau of Foreign Trade. Gaming industry has been closely and clearly connected with internet development. 4G networks enable mobile games development, and we believe that 5G technology will also transform the gaming industry. 5G technologies highlight low latency, and it can reduce or eliminate a lot of the buffering issues or lagging issues. And 5G connectivity can effectively overcome these issues and problems. I think we can significantly improve the quality and stability in internet access. Five G also offers high broadband rates, and it would be 10 times or even 50 times higher than 5G networks. In the near future, gamers only need to take seconds to download new games or update their games. It will be very convenient and useful to many players. In many cases, gamers do not even have to download the games. They can play the games online and in the cloud. It would create a new structure for gaming development. 5G connectivity would also support developments in AR and VR. It will improve on the rendering and the frame rates. When users experience VR and AR, it will feel more authentic. Starting from this July, two major telecom operators in Taiwan, including Chunghwa Telecoms and Taiwan Mobile, have started their 5G network. We look forward to the positive developments in game industries in Taiwan. I would like to thank the organizer for the invitation, and I wish this event a great success. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Now we would like to take a group photos with our distinguished guests and our speakers today.
欢迎经济部国际贸易局代婉容
We would like to invite President Ye and Secretary General Dai back to the stage. We also like to invite Mr. Johnny Jen back to the stage to take group photos with our speakers online, and our speakers are projected on the screen to take the group photos with us.
好，我们现在呢要将时间交给在前面的平面摄影师。我们也请我们线上的讲师跟我们一起看着前方的
So
摄影
please
镜
look
头
in front and to look at the cameras
微笑。
and give us a big smile.
我们再来笑一次。好，接下来我们要把时间交给我们后方的动态的摄影镜头。我们请各位讲师。
We also have photographers in the back, so please bear with us for a few more seconds.
我们大家可以伸出右手的大拇指，比个赞。预备，1、2、3，5G 寄出，谁与争锋？可以了吗？好了吗？
Do we have the photos?
再来一次。好
One more.
谢谢。
Thank you for the
谢谢，请
photo
各位嘉
ops.
宾回座。我们请维京科技的詹成汉董事长留步。谢谢。
And now we're about to move on to the first sessions by Johnny Jens, CEO of Winking Corporation.
活动的主轴，我们要欢迎台湾游戏发行商维京科技詹成汉董事长。
We would like to invite Mr. Johnny
带
Jen
您了解 5G 技术下的
to talk about the impacts of 5G on the next generation of online gaming.
詹成汉董事长。
As well, Mr. John. President Ye, Secretary General Dai, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen online and offline. Good afternoon. I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk about this topic of 5G connectivity, especially with the high-speed services. It will open up and turn a new chapter in the gaming industry. What kind of impacts and influence and changes we look forward to in this industry? Let me briefly introduce myself. Winking Corporations has been in operation for 17 years. We always focus on game development. Over the past 17 years, we have been working with some top game developers around the world. And our games is showcased in many different platforms, including PS5, PS4, Switch, etc. That's why we pay close attention to the upcoming games and upcoming developments in our industry. We need to identify them and plan ahead. I have been asked quite frequently about the 5G and impacts. We know that 5G will give us low latency and high bandwidth. But what else? With 5G connectivity, we expect to see everything is connected. Of course, COVID-19 pandemic has been another driver for the development and deployment of 5G networks. Even though we are quarantined and stay at home, we are closely connected, in some cases even closer than before. As you can see on the slide, this is some of the video on-demand services we have in Taiwan. when you see the cable service on TV or you use this video on demand services. All these services depend on internet access and internet connectivity. And in the past, you may need to spend 1 to 2 minutes to download a new game. However, in future, with 5G networks, everything can be done in seconds. Many users may not even be aware that they were downloading video games in future. This will be a very obvious change in the near future. We don't have to spend a lot of time in downloading anymore. I believe that many people here are gamers, either with your console or with your games, with your mobile phones. Many gamers will need to download several challenges first, and then after a while, after you complete those challenges, you are asked to download the new challenges. And in the 5G networks and the 5G world, we will not feel those kind of download process anymore. Sometimes when you are in the parking lot, or sometimes you are in a location with bad internet access, you may encounter that the download process has failed. And sometimes you may need to spend a lot of time in the buffering scene. All these problems and all these issues will be in history. With 5G networks, we can enjoy very smooth gaming process. With such a high bandwidth, the gaming designs and gaming process will be transformed as well. In the current 4G network, we will hesitate to design a very complicated gaming environment because it may require a lot of packages and it could lead to some latency. And of course, in the esports region, we also emphasize on a fair game and fair playground. When you are connected with many people, so you have to make it simple so that it can maintain a fair game. In the current gaming environment, you may see some details. For example, they are running, the characters are jumping around in the games, especially in the MMORPGs environment. You may not be able to see too much details within your characters. However, within the 5G networks, you will see a lot more details. And the games can be more complicated and more fair in the near future with this new network. In the past, or even in the current situations, many of our games are designed to be PvE, players versus environment. You get into a cave, you fight against the computer, you're interacting with environments. In the 5G network and the 5G connectivity, since then we can have very fair games and very consistent qualities around the world, we will see more and more player versus player games. This kind of game design will be even more popular and more common in the near future.
For esports, as it has been so popular for so many years, in the future, the direction of esports development, I think, not only will it go to more mature level, but also more varieties in esport types will be supported. Cloud games. I believe many of you have heard about it, meaning that everything is processed in the cloud and then transported, delivered to the end device. Cloud gaming. First, we heard about it in 2000, and after 2 decades, it's still not mature. And it's because it's not fast enough. Experience-wise, it's like you have a click, you press something, but you have to wait a few seconds and then you see response. The server could be in the United States, Singapore, Taiwan, or someplace. So there is this outboard limit of the distance of these servers that it's I mean, there are always a gap. There are always some latency that you can overcome because the servers are elsewhere. However, in the future, in the 5G era, if you've been following cloud gaming, this keyword in the news, whether it's Google or Microsoft, every one of them, they dares not to miss this cloud gaming trend, cloud gaming. So if cloud gaming, when it goes mature, it will be a big opportunity. For example, PlayStation 5, a big hit for the second half of 2020, even though it's just game console or game center. However, could you imagine that thanks to technology development, isn't it possible that in the future your mobile phone needs not to process the algorithm? You can simply rely on the high speed, ultra fast speed 5G network within less than 0.1 second that you see the screen response to your orders or whatever you do with the games. So now, as 5G is available and throughout the world, we are seeing 5G signals penetrate different markets. We believe more and more people will be attracted to cloud gaming experiences. Also, because 5G can deliver bigger packets, that means all the behaviors players have in the game can be better analyzed, and our big data analysis will be more complete, which facilitate easier control from the gaming company on the preferences of the players. So 5G can support all this analysis. For example, in winking technology, we've been working with big companies around the world, and in the process R&D, we heard from these clients that they do have big data centers to analyze player behaviors. And all this analysis support their next generation R&D. These data could be fragmental. For example, how many steps the player takes in certain scenario, or what the orders the players offer or decide in a game. However, there are limits. If we spend too much time or ask for too much of user behavior to be transported real time, it means it will take away a lot of resources in the server. However, in 5G era, it will be very different, meaning that we will have more opportunity to design something that consumers or users really like. Cloud gaming, actually, it will be a big impact, an immense impact in VR. That's all I can say. So on this slide, this actually is PSVR. In PSVR, you can see there's a device, a goggle, and also there's a box, which means is the central device, and then it's connected to TV. So that means you need all this equipment to enjoy this VR event. However, in 5G era, you don't need all this equipment anymore. You can break away from the limits of the boxes and the wires. You can act free. It's because all the CPU and GPU are cloud-based. And only when we have 5G with this broad bandwidth that we can make these gaming experiences possible. And I will spend more time illustrating VR because in the coming 2 to 3 years, I believe there will be some big change, some impressive change in the industry. Most people know that VR is limited by physical space. Even though there are no fences, that person, the player, cannot get out of the space to get this area. So this traditional design of VR is we have a headpiece, a TV, and they are fixed with wire, and it's heavy. So some experts in the industry that once proposed that okay, we can have all-in-one, so we can do without a wire and we can go free, roaming around the space. It sounds good. However, the sense of immersion will be not as ideal because if you have all-in-one, that means actually the features, the functions, somewhat are still sacrificed, and the sense of immersion, the quality of the image will be different. I mean, not as expected, and there will be even latency. So for human eyes, we can take 60 frames per second, and then you don't feel dizzy, you feel comfortable. However, for VR all-in-one, the highest speed is only 20 or 30 frames per second. So that's really the bottleneck for all-in-one VR development. Therefore, some players in VR industry, including our company, Winking Technology, we attempted to expand the horizon with this backpack VR. So MSI, also HP, they are producing this backpack VR, meaning that you can have the CPU, have the processor in the backpack, and you can move around, and there's no wires. However, there's still some problem. Even though now with this backpack VR, you have better quality in viewing, however, it's heavy. And even though it's 2020, actually the battery in the computer can last only 20 minutes, meaning that you have to change battery every 20 minutes. So it's like it's more of a prototype. It's like something just in experiment. So when we discuss 5G trends with foreign guests, it's like we would introduce this gadget to them, like you can imagine it, help you feel how it might be like without wires. However, this backpack VR so far, well, I think it's popular in the past 2 to 3 years, but I think very soon it will be just part of our history because the hardware is too expensive and it's heavy and it's difficult to penetrate the market overall. So far, we are seeing new technologies emerging from the industry. And before 5G officially launches, and many companies, including Winking Technology, will mimic or simulate what it might happen in 5G era. For example, even without VR backpack, you can have something, a wireless router in the office. And for example, you have a internet chip in the corner of the office, and then you have a goggle connected to the Wi-Fi. And actually, you don't have to have the backpack. But if you have near-field Wi-Fi services, actually, you will have better quality and you feel at ease. However, there's another issue. I mean, Wi-Fi, high-quality, stable Wi-Fi is not available everywhere, and it's impossible that you carry the goggle or the headpiece everywhere. So I think 5G is something that we expect that ultimately will arrive and solve these internet service issues. So I would also like to share with you, as you might have found many VR headpieces or equipment on the internet, and they would list or promote the feature. For example, it's a 4K or 8K. Well, I have to say, even though these services are available, but hardware-wise, I don't think our technology is supporting enough. So you need dual CPU, dual GPU. You need something like this in the goggle. And this double GPU, double CPU, it needs to calculate the images in real time and for both eyes, and it requires high definition viewing experiences. And we have attempted by ourselves that even though you have the hardware in place, but the wires, I mean for HDMI and other services, these wires do not support this great bandwidth in 5G. So I would say VR is really an advanced technology. It supports high definition viewing. However, like I said, there are lots of new environments or new chances that we can explore, but 5G is really a quick fix. Like I said, 5G can do all the calculation in cloud-based server, and then deliver the results to much smaller budgets, much smaller devices, gadget. So in the future, 5G will become lighter, smaller, because actually in the future, a 5G gadget, what we needed to do is just receiving the signals, reflect the data in the display. So you can imagine in the future, not only everyone would have his or her own phone, iPad, but perhaps everyone will also have a 5G glasses. So with a chip inside, the glasses will help you see more clearly with 5G. And that way, it will drive down the manufacturing cost of 5G internet deployment. And such 3D experiences is amazing because there is no dizzy feeling, as it is faster than 60 frames per second. So actually many companies are working into 5G experiences, and we really look forward to the arrival of this era. Now, let's go back to the topic. The second generation, what is the difference in their experiences? Like I said, because it's so fast, then even though you see the advertisement, actually you just try. You can click try and start playing right away. You don't have to download the game because actually less than a second, the game is already downloaded. So you can just click try and then you are immersed in the game. So this will be something immediately invisible. And it's a gaming experience, very special to everyone. And of course, it constitutes a great risk to game developers. In the past, they spent could be months of effort in developing a game, and it's not possible to end playing the game all of a sudden after all you have waited. So it's like you're watching the movie. If you have queue more than 2 hours, you will nevertheless go into the theater thinking that you already get a ticket. However, in 5G era, when the user cannot feel the real cost, users tend to be impatient and then they will rotate channels. So for game developers, will work harder to place to secure the best opportunities for everyone. So compared to the past, there was a linear process that you attract the users, they get into the game, etc. No, it's not like that anymore. For us, only when we started doing or designing games in 5G, and then all of a sudden realized that when we are watching the news, there are all these bloody cases, and really you can say they are exciting. news? Well, it means whether it's watching news or playing games at home, you need the excitement. And I would say the most beautiful, the most touching parts of the video should be placed within the first 30 seconds. And that's because the users, they will change gun almost every second. If we return to cloud-based games, cloud games, as 5G becomes more popular and more people have these experiences of 5G, that means there will be a lot of changes. Meaning the players, they wouldn't have to invest more in smartphone. And a thinner smartphone would be no problem because they can always subscribe to a platform. For example, this is Google. And you will spend maybe $7 a month, and yet you will be blessed with the best hardware environment in the world, because all the games here, they will have, say, higher resolution of everything of the games. So then it will change the business model. Of course, for some consumers, they procured in certain platform. It's like a bundle with the hardware. So you really have to issue or distribute the game in certain platform. Then the most of your fans, they can get connected through the game. So some other platforms, they encourage players to play for free so that it remains exciting. So there are also different ways of playing online games, because in 5G era, it's faster and wider. I think in the past, more than 10 years ago, one form of the game is that people will air their headsets, meaning that you can chat with your friends instantly. He can hear you, you can hear him. And it could be 70, 80 people or 100 people. It's that you can organize different teams, and then you dive into the cave to kill the turtle. And in 5G era, well, of course, we know 4G. In 4G, people are already well connected to one another. But in 5G, you will see more exciting things within really short period of time. It could be 1 second or two, and among the 500 people. So, for example, you can observe what they really look like. And it's like you are chatting on the one hand, and you are playing a big game on the other hand. In 5G bandwidth, we can support more than several hundred of people. There should be no problem. And now that it's 5G era, and it's said that within 10 seconds we can download a movie. So in the past, I saw a lot of young people, when they were playing games, they had two screens. On the left is something online gaming, and on the right, they are watching the video. So for me, I think they really have smart brand, that they are really the best. They can leverage multiple application. Well, in 5G, there's something even more special, like you can watching a game in a game. And such feature has been delivered in European American companies. So it's like you can see a screen on the stage. And let me illustrate with this video, just a very short video.
游戏内看电影的感觉。那这个玩家可能他走着走着走到前面看到一个大。
For example, the player he approaches the bulletin where there is playing a movie. Next page.
在游戏内看电影。
Watching a film in a game is actually not new, but it's new to watch a concert in a game, and it's actually now a reality. I can show you another video.
这也是一个蛮风靡世界的一个电竞。
is a very popular game called Fortnite. And you can see that in this game that you can see a projection that's actually a rapper, and everyone surrounds the rapper to enjoy the concert. So it's a trailer of this concept. Of course, it will occupy even a larger bandwidth and higher rates, so it will provide a smooth experience. With 5G network, it can integrate new concept. For example, cloud anchor is a concept in AR games. Everyone can co-create an AR experience. It's limited by bandwidth so far. You cannot use a large scale or large scope or even too many people to play together. However, with 5G network, the bottleneck are removed. Now, hundreds of people in the future can play together in an AR environment to co-create the universe. So cloud anchor can be amplified and used better. As I said before, as we can increase the complexity of games, in the MMORPG games, you can become a part of the data transmission, and there will be more social aspects within those games. There are a lot of the VR social applications and ideas have been proposed. We also emphasize on the social aspect in our online games. So far, we hesitate to transmit a lot of data because we are worried that the data transmissions will be problematic and not smooth. In future, you will encounter a new life or even a real life in a virtual game environment. So here is a clip that shows about what operators can do.
Where you can find what you are passionate.
So in this environment, everyone can gather online, virtually, and all the body movements can be transmitted as data and presented in front of your friends. Everyone can go barbecue together, and it's all contactless because of 5G network. Five G have enabled a lot of unimaginable services. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, people are forced to stay at home. In China, for example, many computers in internet cafe are left unused. Many machine rooms in other countries have been left unused. So people have been thinking about what are the intersections between cloud games and offline world. They think that a lot of the computing modules around us left unused can help us to offer a even smoother experiences. In the future, the cloud environments may not be thousands of miles away. It may connect to somewhere closer to you. Some computing powers that is not left unused at the moment can be utilized for cloud computing. So many of these experimental concepts have been reinvigorated. So that's pretty much concludes my presentation today. As I said, that in the 5G networks, everything is connected. For gaming industry, we will see gamers closer together. they can connect with more great products. In the past, we have to download. In the future, download is not a thing. In the past, we have to buy more devices. We have to buy the latest devices to have a better experience. But in the futures, we all rely on cloud. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Today, we are also very honored to have our speaker from Japan, Mr. Hirokazu Hamamura, to talk about the future of esports. We will now invite Mr. Hamamura to give us the presentation. Good afternoon. My name is Hamamura. Today, I'm very glad to have this opportunity to talk about the esports industry in Japan. First of all, let's look at the esport markets around the world. In 2018, you can see the numbers here that the scale is about 776 million US dollars. According to a survey by Newzoo, in 2020, they expect that this market will expand by 150%. Let's look at the 2020 revenues in this market. What are the proportion? You can see on this slide that corporate sponsorship accounted for 58%.
メジャーのフィジカルスポーツがスポンサーシップに頼っているパーセンテージはだいたい 20% の前半台だと言われています。
那么在传统一般的
In traditional sports events, sponsorship accounts for about 20%.
比較すると放映権、チケット、グッズなど実業の割合がまだまだ低いのが現状であります。
那么从这边可以
Here you can see in esports industry, ticket incomes or derivatives incomes are still accounting for small numbers.
非常に大きく伸びている最中ではあるんですけども、まだまだ成長中の発展途上のジャンルだということがこの数字からも分かると思います。
那么
In esports industry has been a growing industry. However, you can see there are many rooms for improvement.
一方、日本の市場の方を比較してみたいと思います。
那么接下来
Now I would like to talk about the esports market in Japan in comparison.
日本は、2017年までは非常に e スポーツ世界的にも遅れてたんですが、2018年に、大きく前年から13倍まで伸びた、と言われています。e スポーツ元年と呼ばれています。
虽然说有人
While some people would say that esports development in Japan has been slower, however, since 2018, you can see significant growth in the past few years. In 2018, the number is already much higher in 2017.
13倍に伸びたこの市場が2020年には約76億円の市場になっています。
那么
Here in 2018, the number is about 4.8 billion Japanese yen, and we expect to grow to 76 billion yen in 2020.
とするというのが今の予測です。
We expect the growth to continue. In the next 3 years, it will continue about 1.5 times.
この2020年の市場をですね、2019年の61億円の市場をですね、比較した売上分解してみたいと思います。
For example, in 2019, this market scale is about 6.1 billion Japanese yen. You can see the proportion in the next slide.
2019年 e スポーツ市場は61億円になると言われていますが、この中でスポンサーシップに頼られている企業が 75% 以上もあります。
In 2019, the esport market scale, as I said, is 6.1 billion Japanese yen. And the business sponsorship accounted for 75%. As I said before, in the global market scale, the business sponsorship accounted for 58%. In Japan market, we rely even more on business sponsorship. Global esports market has been growing. As you can see in this comparisons, that compared with the global environment, the Japanese esports market is still slower than the global average. Now I would like to talk about the esports fans in Japan. From 2018 to 2020, you can see the numbers of esports fans grow from 3.8 million people to 6 million people. In the next 3 years, we expect the esports fans numbers in Japan can double from 6 million to 12 million people. Compared with global markets, in Japan, the scale is still smaller. However, in esports markets in Japan, it has created a lot of economic benefits and effects. So the economic benefits of esports industries can be showcased in the next slide. This is from the official websites of Japanese government's Ministry of Economy and Industry. This slide emphasizes on the certain economic and social significance from the esports industry. Of course, for the esports industries, you can see broadcasting rights, licensing, and other income sources, but it also creates a lot of social influences. Of course, the industries have created a lot of demands for hardware. It requires a lot of products, devices, speakers, facilities. These are all hardware demands from the esports industries. It can also create an educational and training opportunities. So esports have been influential in these areas. Also, on the left-hand side, the esports market is related to financial services or a esports alliance, and is also related to venue maintenance, and is also related to the tourism developments. A lot of the entertainment centers has been established for the esports populations. So esports market also creates economic benefits. If you include all these economic benefits into the esports industries, it can actually create a much larger economic scale. According to our estimations, we expect that in 2025, the scale for e-scale markets can create about 300 billion Japanese yen by 2025. The economic benefits of esports industry have expanded from urban areas to rural areas as well. In Japan, we have a national sports game. It has been a historical event in Japan over the past 75 years. In 2020, this national sports game will be held in Kagoshima Prefecture, and in this national sports game, this year, it includes 6 different kinds of mobile games into the competition. Actually, last year in the national sports game, and it was held in Ibaraki Prefecture. At that time, we have seen a lot of media coverage online and offline. More than 130 journalists have interviews and covers this event. So we can now take a look at a videos of the national sports game last year.
どう県代表してみて楽しかったです。本当に素晴らしい試合楽しませてもらいました。ありがとうございました。ありがとうございます。
国民体育大会という形の中で、e スポーツの都道府県対抗戦が行われた結果、2019年、日本での e スポーツが各地域、都道府県に広く行き渡り、
And also due to the national e-sport game for all prefectures in Japan, due to this big event, all the local government, small communities, they embrace e-sports more thoroughly. In Japan, there are 47 prefectures, including big cities. So, Jesu, when it was founded in 2007, at that time they only had 11 offices in Japan. And in the past 18 months, after all these efforts, and now in 47 prefectures and big cities, we're seeing that we already have 22 offices. And very soon in Akita and also Saga prefectures, we will have new offices. So that means within 1.5 years, we have expanded. And now we have 24 local offices around Japan. And thanks to the local development of e-sport around Japan, aside from new offices being founded, also we are seeing more and more facilities for e-sport. Next page. And as to the e-sport facilities supported by private companies, for example, we have Toyota supported facility. It opens in April this year. And it supports the game called Gran Turismo Sport. And also, we are seeing in Akita Prefecture, there are facilities such as e-sport training center. We have 6 we have 6 computers with with really new features, and also we have 50-inch big screens available in this training center. In the esports market, the development in Japan, I would say it's slower than other places. However, it's our hope that with all these new facilities around Japan, we can train new talents for the industry. Also, we can improve their abilities so that eventually we can promote esports better in Japan. And recently, the most popular esport event, I'll bet the impact from COVID-19, we are receiving more attention. I mean, compared to other industry. So esports are getting popular. Recently, we are seeing traditional sports or games. They are paused due to COVID-19, the pandemic, and instead they decided to go virtual. And the virtual games replaced the real games. Take soccer, for example. Recently, FIFA held E-Nations Day and Play Cup instead of physical games. Also for tennis, we have online tennis world tour in PS4, and we have all the well-known tennis players around the world attending the game online. And also we have basketball, F1, and GP, many famous games or tours. This year, since they couldn't take place, they decided to go online. So we are seeing new examples like this. So similar practices in Japan are for example, we see baseball. In Japan, due to the pandemic, many games are cancelled. For example, the opening show for the baseball league, they decided to go online. So they had a virtual game for the opening of their baseball league. For example, J League Soccer, that's another example. In soccer, for example, J League and JFA, they have online games to replace the physical games. And like I said, we think the line between the physical games and virtual games, the line is getting blurred, more and more blurred. For example, the Olympic Games, there will be an example. Next page. The International Olympic Commission, actually, they just founded a e-sport contact group, and JESU joined the commission as well the appointed institution. And not only traditional physical sports group, also many other organizations of newer forms of sport join the group. IOC nominated Jesu to join the commission, the contact group, and only Korea and Great Britain have similar group or organization being nominated and asked to join the group. As we review the member list, and actually this eSport contact group, it was in December last year that this group presented a report to IOC, on the development of e-sport. And in the report, in the category of simulated sports, the IOC summit meeting, they pointed out that there's great opportunity for collaboration between the physical sport games and online gaming. So IOC also pointed out that there should be more exchange and communication between all parties in this development, meaning all the virtual gaming developer and also the physical gaming, meaning the sports, they should have more exchange. And also due to the reason that e-sport may be a new category for Olympic Games, which means Japan will have another category to join in Olympic Games. That means e-sport is not really getting popular, and it's a new trend overall. In 2018, in Asia Games held in Indonesia, e-sport was listed as a demo category. And in that category, especially in World Soccer, Japan won a gold medal. And that was 2018. In addition, in 2022, the Asia Games to be held in Hangzhou, China, e-sport very possibly will become a formal category for competition. And also here in the table, you can also see in 2021, the latest news in Thailand. There will be a dance competition. It's an Asian Olympic Commission. It's a game. It's a competition held by Asia Olympic Game Commission, and e-sport there in 2021 in Thailand, it will become an official competition category. In 2024, in Paris, the Olympic Games, it's not very possible that e-sport will become a formal competition category. However, in 2025, in the World Expo to be held in Osaka, Japan, it's very possible it will be a great opportunity for esports to promote itself and become a formal category for competition. In 2025, in the World Expo, of course, it's not really a sport competition. However, in Japan, with the World Expo being held, e-sport events will be held simultaneously in Osaka, and also in 2026 in the Asia Games in Nagoya. It will be another great opportunity to promote esports. In 2028, the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, whether esports will be covered as a formal competition category, we are now communicating. We are sending proposals to IOC. in 2030 in Sapporo, in Japan, as the Winter Olympics may be held. And because esports, there's no seasonal limits, so it would be another great opportunity to promote esports, and which will be really popular in Japan. Even though in the development of esports, Japan is a little lagging behind, and yet in the coming years, as we are seeing that there are so many big events to be held in Japan, we believe that esports will be really popular in Japan, and there will be great opportunity that we deliver and see progresses. For that, I have high expectations and invite you to join me and have high expectation for the esports industry in Japan. So thank you for the presentation.
我们非常谢谢我们。
We'd like to thank Mr. Hamamura for your presentation. Now we would like to move on to the next speaker. Korea is the first country in 5G commercializations. We are very honored to have the largest mobile operators in Korea, SK Telecom, to talk about how 5G industry impacts global streaming games and AR/VR. Let's welcome Mr. Kim Eung-won. Good afternoon. My name is Kim Eung-won. I am now the head of brand managers in SK Telecoms, responsible for 5G services. Today, we would like to talk about 5G industries and how it will influence cloud streaming games and AR and VR and the changes in Korea. In Korea in 2018, we have become the first countries in the world in 5G commercializations. So it's the first time that 5G networks has been used in productions and manufacturings. So when the 5G networks is implemented, all the photos can be captured and use machine learning to optimize the process. And these networks have been improving the mobilities and accessibility. So 5G networks is important to these corporate processes. To consumers, and we have seen 5G commercialization since March last year. So far, we have more than 7 million 5G users. So that means over 10% of smartphones users in Korea are using 5G networks. So the SK Telecoms have accounted for 50% of 5G user base.
가운데 삼각형 그림의 배꼽 끝점에 해당하는 내용입니다. 쉽게 얘기 드리면 빠르고 가능성이 높고 더 많은 사람이나 사물이 동시에 통신할 수 있는 내용입니다.
Now I would like to talk about how is 5G different from the 4G LTE networks. 5G provides low latency, high connectivities, and high bandwidth, so more objects are connected together.
주파수 대역과 네트워크 투자에 따라서 매우 가변적이지만 LTE가 150Mbps에서 900Mbps 정도의 다운로드 속도를 제공한다면 5G에서는 수백 Mbps를 넘어서 1Gbps 이상의 속도도
So here you can see on the top tip of this triangle, and it has enhanced mobile broadband services. It offers high bandwidth, and the operators invest in the networks to benefit the smartphone users. So you can see from the download rates can range from 150 Mbps to 1 Gbps. So here you can see that in future, in 5G networks, we can offer up to 1 Gbps of connection rate.
좀 전에 말씀드렸던 1GBps의 5G 속도는 일반적인 5G 주파수 내역의 속도를 말씀드렸던 거고 초고주파 주파수 내역을 활용하면 1GBps보다 훨씬 빠른 5에서 많게는 20GBps까지의 속도도 가능합니다.
According to the international specifications, and there are several spectrums and bands for 5G networks. And in Korea, we are using certain spectrums and bands. If you use the ultra high and ultra rare LLC, and we can reach up to 20 Gbps or even 50 Gbps. If we want to use the ultra high bandwidth, then we have to build another networks, and we also have to think about the super high frequency and its characteristics. If there are any obstacles between small cells, and it will obstruct the transmission. So these are several considerations we have to take. So far, we do not have a specific use case for ultra frequency and ultra high frequency 5G network. In Korea, we do not have a ultra-high frequency 5G network. And in Europe and America, they are trying to replace the traditional wire networks at home. However, the investment performance has not been ideal in Europe and America. So therefore, in Korea, we only deploy the conventional 5G networks, but it's already much higher and much faster than the traditional LTE network. And of course, we also have the second feature, which is massive NTV. And in the 4G networks, they can only support about 100,000 devices within 1 square kilometers. But in 5G networks, we can support up to 1 million devices. And as the chairperson has said, that we will need to see the massive IoT in the near future. The third feature is ultra low latency. We can minimize the latency in 5G network, so users will almost never feel the latency. When you're using 5G networks in gaming, you will see immediate reactions in your game without any delay. When you are driving, those low latency will offer a really smooth experiences. Low latency in 5G networks can be explained in this way. If you are using LET networks, the latency between small cell is about 30 milliseconds. However, if you use 5G networks, then the latency can be only 1 out of 100 or even smaller. Compared with 4G networks, 5G networks can minimize the latency and delay, and it will be very useful in AR and VR technologies. Now we are moving to the 5G networks, and all these transformations and generations have driven the developments in messaging, social network, and in 3G we are seeing videos and photos. So many people in Seoul have been impressed by the 5G networks. Many users in Seoul have been watching baseball or live broadcastings on their smartphones, and it's been very common for mobile users to enjoy all these mobile services.
참고로 전 세계적으로 5G 전국망을 깔겠다고 선언한 통신사는 거의 없고 주로 도심 지역의 네트워크 커퍼시티를 보강하는 목적으로 투자할 계획입니다. 한국은 통신사 간 경쟁이 매우 치열한 국가로 5G 전국망으로 달려가고 있습니다.
In this slide, you can see by the end of 2019, the 5G network coverage in Korea. Most of the small cells are deployed in big city and along the traffic network and with higher demands. As far as I know, that there are no operators around the world have deployed the 5G networks around the country, and 5G networks are mostly complementary to the existing networks because Korea has many operators competing with each other. So we are looking forward to a higher coverage in Korea.
5G 초반에는 4G와 5G 기반 기동을 하며 영상이 끊긴다거나 하는 등 네트워크 저하가 있었는데 지금은 많이 안정화됐습니다. 한국의 5G 상용화 이후 레슨스 언들을 듣기 위해서 코로나 전에는 해외에서 많은 통신사업자와 정보기관들이 한국으로 벤치마킹을 왔었습니다.
So actually now in Korea, we rely on 4G LTE for national coverage domestically. And in the beginning era of 5G, perhaps there be some instability during the transfer, for example, in video or streaming. However, if we have a successful commercialization of 5G, and before COVID-19, we have received many letters and requests from around the world to learn from Korea. For 5G era, there are still a lot of questions waiting to be answered. For example, which industries, which companies will be popular due to 5G. However, in SK Telecom, we have a designated group we have discussed. And here I would like to share with you our discussion.
왼쪽에서 보시는 것처럼 5G 기반으로 새로운 서비스가 등장하고 기존 시장도 확대될 수 있는 기회가 있고 기존 서비스들도 5G 모바일을 기반으로 진화될 수 있을 것으로 판단됩니다.
I think 5G will become the catalyst for service innovation, as now we rely on 5G and internet services for innovation. As you can see, we have a lot of new services, and 5G being the catalyst, we can not only we can expand the market, but also we can make new innovations shine.
연예기획사, 게임회사, 온라인 커머스, 방송사, 보안업체, 자동차 회사 등 다양한 업체들과 통신사 간 콜라보레이션이 생겨나고 있습니다. 이뿐 아니라 5G로 인한 산업의 변화나 시장 확대를 염두에 두고 통신사들은 미디어, 보안업체, 커머스 등 관련 업체에 대한 투자나 JV 설립 등을 활발하게 진행하고 있습니다.
So all this service innovation, of course, it requires cross-industry collaboration. Now we are seeing entertainment company, internet company, TV company, and also telecommunication providers, even automobiles. We are seeing more and more collaboration among different industries. It's not between two parties, but actually cross-party, and we are seeing telecommunication service providers, they are investing video, security, and actually they have joint ventures to expand the business in 5G.
이 유스케이스 중에서 5G로 인해서 기존 서비스가 업그레이드되거나 아니면 실제로는 5G와 관계가 없는 유스케이스가 거의 90% 이상이었고요. 5G 네트워크이 필수적인 유스케이스는 10% 수준에 미치지 못하는 30여 개였습니다. 이런 5G 필수 서비스의 예시는 초저지연성을 활용해서 자율주행 자동차 간의 실시간 충돌을 회피하는 기능, 이런 것들이 5G 네트워크이 없으면 안 되는 유스케이스로 기술되었습니다.
And based on research, we have some use case report for about 400, and more than 90% will rely on 5G. And most of the use cases will be upgrade of current services. Only less than 30% of use cases require 5G. For example, there are real-time communication between manless driving that really require 5G internet to avoid collision. So that's a typical example of 5G communication.
상당 지역에서는 LTE가 여전히 메인 네트워크가 될 것이기 때문에 결국 5G only 서비스가 아닌 5G가 필요한 상업화 서비스에서의 포커스에서 잘
The coverage of 5G, it takes some time to reach 100% for coverage, and most of the places in Korea we rely on LTE. So ST Telecom, we have multiple focuses, not just 5G, and our focus will be the industry and also the service provision and how these aspects will change in the 5G era. They will be our primary focus.
한국 시장에서 엔터프라이즈 영역에서 5G에 대한 니즈는 있거든요. 한국은 일반 고객 대상으로 미디어, AR, VR, 게임 영역에서 새로운 분야와 이러한 한국 시장에서 이동통신 회사들의 5G 서비스에 대해서 소개드리겠습니다.
So far, many corporate reports have delivered reports on 5G development. Well, in the long run, it's true that 5G will impact, will influence some company. However, it's limited, mostly the end-device entertainment and AR/VR services. Now I would like to introduce to you some 5G service capable products available in the South Korean telecommunication market.
일반 영상 12개가 돌아가는 만큼 데이터가 소모되지 않게 하는 게 기술이었습니다. 이런 글로벌 게이밍 리그 오브 레전드, 일명 롤의 멀티뷰 화면입니다. 이용자는 이용자가 응원하는 선수가 플레이하는 화면을 직접 선택해서 선수가 게임을 어떻게 평가하는지를 직접 감상하면서 즐길 수 있습니다.
So first of all, I would like to introduce to you this interactive media service. The first is multi-view. As you can see on the left side of this slide, multi-view means we have 12 source of video being played. And how do we reduce the consumption of data? That will be the key of our technology development. So far, it still consumes a lot of data to have 12 video played at the same time. And on the right-hand side, it's LL is a popular game, and the user can choose their preferred player. And with multi-view, they can appreciate the play of the player.
멀티뷰가 실시간으로 돌아가진 않지만 아이돌 가수 그룹의 영상 중에서 본인이 원하는 가수를 선택해서 해당 가수만 클로즈업해서 계속 볼 수 있는 서비스입니다.
So on the right-hand side, it's a live service from idol group. It does not support multi-view. However, in the video of idol group, actually user can select their preferred member, and then they can focus on the member during the play.
여전히 고화질의 영상을 볼 수 있는 미디어 서비스입니다. 야구 중계 중에 내가 원하는 곳을 확대해서 보다 생생한 장면을 감상할 수 있습니다. UHD급 수준의 4K급 수준의 고화질 영상을 송출하기 때문에 화면을 확대해도 화질이 저하되지 않고 여전히 고화질을 감상할 수 있습니다.
And another item of media service is just within with the trick of your fingers, you can, for example, you can expand your vision. You can see more details. For example, just with your fingers, you can see the details in the baseball game. And your sight, your vision would no longer be limited by the size of the display.
화질 간의 차이를 일반인들이 아주 중요하게 느끼기는 어렵지만 화면을 확대해서 선명하게 보게 하기 위해서는 고용량급인 4K급의 영상이 필요합니다. 참고로 H급 영상은 시간당 약 1GB, FHD는 약 2GB, UHD급은 10GB 수준의 데이터를 수용하게 됩니다. 모든 사람들은 HD급으로도 많이 시청하고 있습니다.
So far on the display of smartphones, HD quality and full HD, most users cannot distinguish the difference. If you want to see the clear details, actually you need higher resolution, meaning the UHD, and for UHD video, it consumes 1 GB per second, and Full HD and UHD that consumes 10 GB of data per second. So HD is 1 gig, and Full HD 2 gig, and Ultra HD is 10 gig. So a lot of people, they still choose to watch just HD.
위에 홀로그램 같은 다양한 AR 콘텐츠를 포함해서 보고 즐기고 사진이나 동영상을 촬영해서 갤러리에 올려서 공유할 수도 있습니다.
Here is a augmented reality service. In SK Telecom, we have Jump AR and also LG U+. They have U+ AR service. So when you capture a image with your camera, actually there will be a hologram AR content, and the user can enjoy the content and also take picture with the AR content or the video, and then upload to the cloud.
가운데는 LOL 롤게임 선수로 유명한 페이커 선수가 롤게임 캐릭터인 야소를 소환해서 같이 찍은 사진입니다. 오른쪽 아래 사진을 보시면 핸드폰 속에는 AR 콘텐츠가 보이고 현실에서는 보이지 않습니다.
On the bottom left, actually it's my son, and the AR dinosaur and also AR animal. Well, due to the intellectual property right, these are actually photos of my family. And in the center, we can see also there's actually one popular mobile game. Actually, you can take photos with mobile game characters. So actually, it's shown in your smartphone. AR content cover action and also audio effect. So not only you can take photos, actually you can have video with AR content. But it's a pity that I can only show you images here instead of showing the vivid AR content.
왼쪽 그림처럼 움직이는 사람이나 산으로 스튜디오에서 촬영하면 컴퓨터 그래픽으로 구현하는 것보다 더 실감나고 빠르게 그리고 자연스럽게 보이는 비디오를 제작할 수 있습니다. 특히 인물을 컴퓨터 그래픽으로 실감나게 제작하는 데는 굉장히 어려운
And here I would like to share with you the BBCS is the golden metric video capture video. Well, it's a different idea if compared to virtual image, but they are quite similar. It will be easier for you to understand. So on the right-hand side, BBCS technology, you can see in the studio, it's all very natural when we capture the actions from people. And if compared to computer graphics, these technology is more vivid and also less costly, especially when there are people and human characters. This new technology is showing better performance than computer graphics.
현장에서는 보이지 않지만 화면에 합성해서 송출을 함으로써 새로운 시도를
And on the right hand side, actually, it was a concert by Madonna. Maybe it's a little bit blurred, but actually, there are actually 5 Madonnas. And 4 out of the 5 Madonnas are virtual Madonnas shot in the studio. Well, in the concert, you only see one. However, in the video production, we have post production and inserted 4 more Madonnas, so there are 5 in the stage.
도입할 예정입니다. 제작 콘텐츠는 AR, VR뿐만 아니라 게임, 영화 등 다방면으로 활용할 수 있습니다. 요새 코로나로 인해서 온라인 문화가 확산되고 있는데요. 스튜디오에서 촬영한 결과물로 온라인 콘서트 공연을 어떻게 바꿀 수 있는지 사례를 영상으로 한번 보시죠.
In Korea, LTE Plus and SK T-Telecoms also established a new studio, and Korean governments will also establish a new studio. So these content can be used in AR, VR, as well as games and film industries. So COVID-19 pandemic have changed our lives. So many of our activities have moved online, including concerts. So now I'll show you a clip and how the videos captures in the studio can be shown in concert.
이 영상은 한국의 슈퍼주니어 가수 그룹의 콘서트 중 일부를 발췌한 영상입니다.
This video is a concert in Super Junior concert, and you can see this segment. So we capture the movements of one Super Junior member, and all the other Super Junior members dance on site, and you can see when they're combined together, and these virtual members climb out of the 2D scenes into a 3D movement. Here you can see some of the 360-degree VR services. So this kind of videos requires a lot of data. It requires hundreds of gigabytes of data each year. So we are also developing in video compressing technologies, so to enable this kind of smooth services and experiences. In Korea, mobile operators have released their own VR experiences. In SK Telecoms, we provide the Jump VR, and on the left-hand side, you can see these avatars enter the virtual space, so we can enjoy videos together or chat together. So we can see these virtual avatars into these virtual spaces. You can adventure and also play in this huge field. With VR headset, you can experience authentic and or near realities at 360-degree VR experiences. Even if you do not have the headset, you can still experience the 360-degree environments with smartphones. Because of the pandemic, having conferences or meetings online or virtually has become more and more important.
다양한 360도 VR 미디어 영상들은 통신사들이 기본적으로 다 제공해주고요. KT는 특히 자사 IPTV 콘텐츠와 패키징에서 2D 영상이지만 VR 디바이스를 흡입하고 그다음에 아침에 앞에 대형 TV나 영화관에서 보시는 2D 영상을 진행하는 서비스를 제공합니다.
On the upper right-hand side, you can see a menu of 360-degree VR. So many operators are trying to offer more and more 360-degree VR. So, for example, SK Telecoms combine the VR offers with their IPTV. So even if you are using 2D content, you can also imagine and feel like you are watching a huge screen.
실제 상용 이게 트렌드라고 생각이 되고 실제 상용화를 한 한국의 사례를 보면 되겠습니다.
Last but not the least, you can see cloud streaming games. As Mr. Jen has mentioned, this is the main trends we are going toward. So we have several cloud games with 5G networks already.
서버에 게임을 설치하고 컴퓨팅도 서버에서 처리해서 게임 PC나 영상 형태로 디바이스를 전해주는 서비스입니다. 스마트에서 게임이 처리되는 게 아니고 클라우드 서비스이기 때문에 게임 컨트롤이 가능성이 매우 중요합니다. 그렇기 때문에 아까 말씀드렸던 5G의 초전성이 필요하고 영상 압축하는 프로세스를 갖게 되면 딜레이가 발생하기 때문에 영상 압축 프로세스 없이 보내기 때문에 일반 데이터 압축 사용하는
In cloud streaming games, the games are computed and installed in the cloud. The video games and the images are exported to the devices. So all the processings are done in the cloud without using computing power in the smartphones. So this kind of responsiveness becomes very important. Here, we need to emphasize the low latency features in 5G networks. If we can also combine with the data compressing technologies, then it can be even more useful.
지금까지는 게임은 디바이스에 다운받아서 즐겼기 때문에 내용량, 고사양 게임을 즐기기 위해서는 값비싼 고사양 PC 등을 구매해야 합니다. 클라우드 스트림 게임 서비스를 이용하면 내 스마트폰이나 PC, TV가 저사양이라도 상관없이 고사양 게임을 플레이하게 되고 몇 기가바이트나 되는 앱 설치나 패치 리스트 필요 없습니다. 게임 개발자들도 앱 사이즈에 구애받지 않고 고퀄리티의 게임 제작이 가능하고 서버에서 바로 게임 업데이트가 가능합니다. 또한 게임 타이틀을 클라우드 스트림 게임으로 이용하는 패키징에서 고소성 모델로 수익을 창출할 수 있는 기회입니다.
In cloud streaming games, we can connect our smart TVs or smartphones to the clouds, even if our devices are in low specification, we can still play the games very smoothly. They don't have to upgrade their devices or update their games. So game developers can provide quality games without thinking about the limitations of end devices.
하지만 구글, 마이크로소프트, 엔비디아, 인텔, 소니, 텐센트 등 글로벌 컴퍼니들이 시장에 진출되는 디지털 계획을 가지고 한국 손님에서는 각각 마이크로소프트, 엔비디아, 그리고 대만의 솔루션 업체인 유비소프트와 제휴를 통해서
Cloud streaming games offer a new changes to the gaming market, but we are not certain so far about the success. We are seeing several companies already invested in the cloud gaming markets. For example, Microsoft, Nvidia, for example. Three major operators in Taiwan, in Korea, have worked with different partners such as Microsoft, Nvidia, or Ubisoft from Taiwan. So this is the 5G networks in Korea and the changes in media in Korea. Thank you very much. We would like to thank Mr. Kim for your presentation. Now we would like to invite our distinguished guests to the panel discussions. We would like to invite Mr. Andy Liu to the stage, as well as Johnny Jen to the stage. We would also like to invite Mr. Hamamura and Mr. Kim to join our panel discussion. We would like to thank our presenters from Taiwan, Korea, and Japan for your presentations. I think this is a great opportunity for our speakers and our moderators to discuss some important topics. We all know that Japan have been leading in game development. Mr. Hamamura have mentioned that esports industry has a lot of growth in the past few years. So I would like to ask Mr. Hamamura to talk about the current situations of esports in Japan and what kind of changes that 5G networks will create to the esport industry in Japan. Now I would like to invite Mr. Hamamura to answer. As I said before, in 2018, we think it is the first year of esports in Japan. Actually, the esports markets in Japan, fighting or shooting games are more popular. However, for the MMO games in Japan are not as popular as in other parts of the world. With 5G networks in the future, I think smartphones, tablets, and smart TVs will become important vehicles for esports. With this advancement, and of course that we know the Pokemon Go, and it combined the Pokemon Go as with the MMO games in the internet. I believe that this new game with Pokemon will gain popularities amongst Japanese consumers and gradually changes the esports market in Japan.
Thank you, Hamamura-san. Now, our next question is for Johnny Zhan, CEO of Winking Corporation. So it was a wonderful presentation you had. So do you have any question for our fellow speakers? Actually, I have a question for Mr. Kim Yong-won from SK Telecom's perspective. As the 5G era is coming, aside from AR, VR, do you see any new technology or new concepts that can be adopted or applied in our new generation mobile games?
SK텔레콤 그리고 한국통신사들은 과거 서비스가 음원 다운로드하는 데서 스트리밍으로 변화하고 어쩌면 모드에서 변화했고요. 그 다음에는 영상 서비스가 콘텐츠 다운로드 방식에서 스트리밍 결정의 모델로 변하는 과정을 지켜봤습니다. 그래서 아까 말씀드렸던 클라우드 스트리밍 게임의 기존의 다운로드 방식의 게임 시장의 틀어나온 변화를 이루어갈 수 있는 것으로 보고 있고요. 클라이언트 스트리밍 게임을 모바일에서도 원활하게 즐길 수 있는 기능에 대해서는 아까 말씀드렸던 스토리지 방식과 대용량 초고속이 굉장히 중요하기 때문에 같이 거치와 제휴를 통해서 진행을 하고 있고 통신사는 게임 네트워크의 안전성을 보장해주는 그런 역할을 하고 있습니다. 추가적으로 아까 보여주셨던 플레이어가 멀티뷰 서비스를 활용한 게임에서 적용을 한다든가 아니면 소셜 공간에서 가상으로 유저와 같이 즐길 수 있는 이런 부분도 스테이트적인 시각에서 게임에 접목해 볼 수 있는 그런 기회가 아닌가 이렇게 생각됩니다.
So in SK Telecom and also other telecommunication service providers, actually, for example, take music or entertainment service, for example. In the past, it was a downloading mode that people have to download music to listen, but now we have streaming services and we have monthly subscriptions available. And for cloud-based games, I think it's also possible if we have this monthly subscription model, it will be a change to the industry. In 5G era, we have low latency and great bandwidth and also high speed. So for the players in the industry, I think they have more choices more choices in choosing collaborating partners so that they can have multi-angle games, realize this multi-angle, multi-view model. And for SK Telecom for 5G, I think there are more opportunities. Okay, we have more questions for our speakers. So, Mr. Hamamura, do you have question for us?
実際のオンラインを e スポーツに応用する場合、何か制限とか課題ですね。で、そこからどんな変化が起きるかっていうのをぜひ聞いてみたいなと思います。
This question is for Winking Corporation, Mr. Zhan. From your perspective, the next generation mobile games, the next generation online games, if we are to adopt them into esports, do you see any limits or challenges? Well, in 5G era, the design of the games will be more and more complicated. For esport gaming, it requires 5G environment. So in the future, we think esports, some of the games will require really high-speed network, whereas some other games, for example, really complicated games would not be as wonderful, impressive in a 4G or traditional environment. So in the future, I think the design of the games or the R&D development of the games, they have to choose or decide from the very beginning whether it's 5G compatible or actually it's compatible to also traditional and 4G environment. So now we have a question from Mr. Kim Yong-won.
5G 차세대 인터넷 게임의 R&D에 있어서 좀 가장 기술적으로 시급하게 해결해야 될 문제점이 있는지 그런 게 있으면 공유해 주시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
My question is also for Johnny John. So from Winking Corporation's perspective, in the R&D of next generation 5G gaming, what is the biggest technological challenge? The most urgent challenge will be, well, there are two. So first is that 5G is just at its beginning. So we are seeing that R&D or development teams around the world, in the process of developing, I mean, they don't necessarily have 5G network available for testing. So in many areas, we have 5G labs for development teams to test or to prove their games. But I guess as 5G become more and more ubiquitous, the developers, they will have more opportunity, more exposure to 5G network, and then they will have more inspiration in how to develop 5G games. And the second challenge, just like Mr. Kim said, for example, in Korea, 5G network in Korea, even in Korea, is not fully available domestically yet. In Taiwan, I think it will be the same. The network will be partly 4G, partly 5G. So for the game designers, they have to consider whether their users are in 4G or 5G, and whichever environment they are in, it should be a smooth and seamless experience. For example, you cannot assume that the user will be able to download the next scenario in a 5G environment. You have to calculate that for 4G as well. Otherwise, the user will be waiting for too long that you assume they are using 5G, but instead maybe they are still trapped in 4G. So, well, you can say that we are now in transition. Next is the floor goes to the floor is open. So actually, I have received many questions from the floor. So I will share the question with our speakers. And if you still have questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Number one, the first question is for Mr. Hamamura. The question is, for example, we are seeing VTuber, the virtual idol, the online virtual idol is a popular trendy business in Japan. And do you see cross-industrial collaboration possible? Well, to be honest, in Japan, VTuber, virtual idol group, online, they're really popular. And actually, in Japan, we have held online combat among VTubers. There are esports games for VTubers, and it's very popular among consumers and users. Thank you. Our next question is for Mr. Kim Yong-won, Head of Brand Manager, SK Telecom. The question is, in the market, there are so many solutions for cloud-based gaming. So what is your primary advantage in cloud-based streaming in SK Telecom? In the future, will you be able to provide cross-platform gaming services?
자체에 대해서 그래서 5G가 아까 콜라보레이션이 중요하다고 말씀드렸던 것처럼 기술력이 있는 마이크로소프트, 엔비디아, 유비소프트와 제휴를 통해서 서비스를 제공하고 되었습니다. 다만 아까 말씀드렸던 것처럼 이 게임을 즐기기 위해서는 5G의 초저전성하고 대용량 초고속이 굉장히 중요하고요. 추가적으로 하나 더 말씀드리면 게임의 속도와 이 저지연성이 굉장히 균등하고 지속적으로 안정적으로 보장이 돼야 됩니다. 안정성을 보장해주기 위한 특별을 통신사가 해줄 수 있고 그래서 스트리밍 게임사들도 통신사들과 같이 제휴를 하고 있습니다. 그 크로스 플랫폼은 클라우드 게임은 서버에서 게임을 제공하기 때문에 확대가 매우 용이합니다. 그래서 LG U+는 이미 모바일뿐만 아니라 PC에서도 이 동일한 서비스를 제공하고 있고 TV로도 확대가 예상됩니다. SK텔레콤도 우선은 스마트폰으로 제공하고 있지만 그 제휴사와 같이 합의해서 향후 TV나 PC로도 확장이 가능할 것으로 생각합니다. 다만 그 VR 게임의 경우에는 모바일이나 PC 게임하고 좀 그 게임의 이제 360도 특성이라든가 특성이 굉장히 다르기 때문에 크로스 플랫폼으로 빠르게 전환하는 것은 좀 어렵다고 판단이 됩니다.
To be honest, for cloud-based gaming, we are not as advantageous as in other businesses. So, like I said, a lot of 5G services require collaboration among companies. For example, GVS and NVS. I mean, we have a lot of local companies. They are collaborating with SK Telecom. For users, if they want to enjoy cloud-based gaming, of course they need 5G bandwidth and also availability, stability, and telecommunication services. They need a stable network to support gaming. And for cross-platform gaming, well, because cloud-based gaming, after all, is on the cloud, so it's easier to be adapted for cross-platform services. And LG Plus, actually, they are doing that. That's my competitor. They are planning to expand the services to TV. And for SK Telecom, we focus on smartphones. I guess in the future, SK Telecom will expand our cloud-based gaming services to TV and other devices as well. Well, in development-wise, it's very different. I mean, for VR, it requires 360 viewing angle. So it's more difficult to be adapted in different platforms in a short period of time. Question number 3 is for Johnny Zhang, CEO of Winking Corporation. So the question is, which type of games will be the best candidate for 5G next generation gaming? What type of games do you recommend? Or do you foresee will have more advantages? Well, in my company, in recent years, we are working with many overseas clients in multiple projects. And what surprised us, well, let's call it the size. Let's say the size is big. I mean, the size for installation is big. So from our understanding, these big size games are customized for 5G generation. Like I said, the downlink rate in 5G era will be expanded by tens or even more times. So what kind of games require such big size? Usually it's artistic or really a lot of graphics in a game. So perhaps I would say those artistic, those really beautiful graphic games will have advantage in 5G because 5G will enable their great performance. And also cloud-based games, if they show more artistic traits, I think they will be suitable candidate to stand out in 5G. So since it's cloud-based, if you are to demonstrate the advantage of 5G, that means you don't need complicated device to play 5G enabled games. So for the game designers, I mean, they have to present really beautiful artistic games, and with the calculation or processing in the cloud, it can be available in the devices at user end. and also 5G. I mean, in addition to the artistic games, I think the second category would be, for example, competition or fighting. Or sometimes it's team building. There are games that require real-time but complicated decision-making. I think in 5G era, there will be also a great candidate to stand out. So this question is also for Johnny. So this question is, could you explain the difference between 6G and 5G? Do you think 6G can implement more than 10,000 people staying online together? And how far are we to 6G? Well, we did discuss and chat a bit. In 5G, there will be massive IoT, that everything is connected. And now that in 5G everything is connected, what can we do with 6G? So what will be the experience we can expect in 6G era? Personally, I think in 6G, it will be something like really immersive, that the user, they feel they are completely in the virtual world. Because when we have IoT, that everything is connected, that means, okay, you are connected to the environment, to other people. That's massive IoT effect. However, in the era of 6G, as the bandwidth will be multiple tens of times, if compared to 5G, then yes, indeed, there will be like thousands or even tens of thousands of people in the same virtual world that live there. And whatever action you take will be felt or captured in the virtual world and vice versa. So I think the 6G era is not really too far away, maybe within the future 10 years. In 10 years, yeah, you're positive.
I think this will conclude our forum due to time constraints. If you have any additional questions for our speakers in Taiwan, you can feel free to communicate with them in private. We also have a questionnaire for you. Please fill out the questionnaire for us. So we will show you a QR code. Please scan the QR code to fill out the questionnaires. And you can also download the presentations prepared by our speakers. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this forum. We wish you a great weekend. Thank you.